الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدًا عبد الله ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him because He is worthy of praise. And His worthiness for praise comes from His beautiful names and His attributes which show us His perfection, subhanahu min ilah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the evils within ourselves and the evil consequences of our actions. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings upon His last and final messenger, His family, His companions, His wives, and all those who follow His way until the end of time. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. We remind one another to be people of taqwa, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among the muttaqeen. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen, amma ba'd. Throughout the month of Ramadan, I have been giving my Taraweeh khatiras about an incident, an event that happened on that particular day of Ramadan in our history. And as I've been going through the month, day by day, presenting to the community an event that occurred, whether it is an opening of a land or a political event or a victory, whatever it is, what I noticed is that as the month went on, the morale of the community was lifted. The month began as people, or with people very down over what's going on in Palestine, obviously, very normal. But as they heard that our history, their heritage, and in this blessed month of Ramadan is full of heroes, full of individuals beating the odds, full of moments to be proud of, you can sense that their morale, their identity was strengthened. In this month of Ramadan, just to name a few off of the top of my head, the Battle of Badr occurred, the victory. The opening of Mecca. Sicily, the Italian island, entered Islam back then. Parts of Crimea was opened by Nuruddin Zenki. You have Belgrade was opened by the Ottomans. And the list just keeps going on and on and on and on. This is the month of Ramadan. It is a month of victory. But what makes these events even more beautiful, dear brothers and sisters, is that most of these victories occurred on the hands of Muslims, our brothers and sisters, who were against the odds. Nuruddin didn't have a massive economy to back him up and political allies to support him and give him political cover. He didn't have that. He was fighting against the odds. Salah ad-Din, the same thing. The Prophet ﷺ, even more so. And so when we look at our times today, we see that the events slowly but surely are in the favor of Islam and Muslims. And it's painful. We don't deny this, we don't overlook this. It's painful. But the fact of the matter is, we can do today what our brothers and sisters before us did and were proud of. We can be a source of pride and inspiration for future generations by being a community, a generation that beat the odds. But how do we do this? What was their secret? How did they succeed? And one of the major elements, of course, strategy and being smart and wise is a huge part of it. But another major element of it that we often ignore today is that these people did not love this world because they loved the afterlife. Salah ad-Din wanted the afterlife. That's why he did what he did. Nuruddin wanted the afterlife. That's why he did what he did. The Prophet and the companions, alayhi salatu wassalam wa ridwanullahi alayhim jami'an, did what they did, sacrificing themselves, their health, their well-being, their comfort, their wealth. For what? For the afterlife. And take it from our dear leader, Khalid ibn Walid, radiyallahu ta'ala an. When he was talking to the Byzantine Empire, the Roman Empire, he said, I have come to you with an army who loves death the way you all love life. Oh, and they did what they did. This one man, with a humble army of 12 or 20,000 people, brought the Roman and the Persian Empire to its knees. They didn't do it because they had a large economy. They didn't do it because they had sophisticated institutions. We should work towards that. But in the meantime, we shouldn't stall our efforts because we are waiting for us to become powerful. No, your power is within, as it was within them. They did wonders against all odds. Yet we today, 2 billion Muslims, 2 billion Muslims on this earth, who all want to help Palestine, and we can't do anything. We're sitting and looking, watching, and just making dua, hoping Allah will accept our dua. 12,000 in the time of the Prophet and the companions, versus 2 billion. What's the difference? And the answer is, as I said, when we Muslims attach ourselves to this world, when our primary goal becomes our careers, buying homes, fancy cars, making sure your salary is high, food, traveling an hour just for food, or whatever it is, even though it's halal, dear brothers and sisters, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it's haram. But when that becomes our primary objective in life, we become weak. We become weak. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ tells us precisely. He says, the the nations will gather upon you and take from you the way people gather on a feast and take whatever they want from the table. So this is what's happening today. Wallahi, the Prophet is talking about what has been happening the past 100 years in the Muslim Ummah. And they asked, Ya Rasulullah, is it because we are small in number? He said, no, you're not small in number. You are plenty in number, 2 billion. But you're weak. Fikumul wahin. We have weakness. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, mal wahin. What's this weakness that you're talking? Where is it coming from? He said, Hubb ad-dunya wa karahiyat al-maut. We love this life. And we despise death. What that means is we're not looking forward to death. We're not looking what's after death. We're not working for what's after death. That is the weakness of believers, dear brothers and sisters. Because when our focus becomes this world, then essentially we shut our minds. We put filters on our minds, shades, barriers, blinding us from the bigger picture. It puts us in a mode of thinking that is all about lesser purpose. What am I going to eat today? Is my car doing well? This is lesser purpose. We human beings were created for something greater than finite material gain. We were created for Jannat. We were created for paradises, to be under the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when our mind becomes primarily focused and concerned about this world, then we weaken ourselves by becoming more individualistic. No, I can't help you today because I have to take care of this. Oh no, I have too much work, I'm not going to go to the masjid. Oh, I can't volunteer because I'm busy with my career. Oh, I had to take my kids to sports, therefore I can't attend this Islamic lecture. Individualistic. Materialist. Oh, I can't give sadaqah, I can't give charity because I have bills to pay. Of course, take care of your bills. But some of our bills, a lot of our bills, are just enjoying more of this world. And so you can see very quickly, dear brothers and sisters, worldliness is the weakness of the believer. And the Prophet ﷺ says in this regard, "Man kana hammuhu hamma dunya," whoever's primary concern is this world, that's what's bothering them, that's always what's on their mind, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause them after this world. And they'll only get from this world what Allah has ordained. Meaning, whether you're religious or not, whether you frequent the masjid or not, whether you give sadaqah or not, what Allah has written for you is the same. So we shouldn't see ourselves as, I'm not going to masjid because I need to push my career. That's not pushing your career. Allah will only give you from your career what He has written. So go to the masjid and give sadaqah. And realize, if anything, it will only boost what you're doing. It will only cause Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you achieve your goals. Because that's one of the ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards the believers, those who sacrifice for Him. Worldliness weakens the believer. And another way it weakens us is it divides us. It divides us. Think about it. One of the biggest spiritual diseases that has wreaked havoc in the Muslim mind over the past century is nationalism and racism. Oh, I'm from this country, they're from that country. My country is better, your country is not as good. My country is more wealthy, your country is poorer. And wallahi, sometimes within the same country, they look down upon each other. Or you from that part, you're from the north, or you're from the south, or you're from the east, or you're from that tribe. Nationalism divides us. But what is nationalism? Nationalism is essentially an attempt by the individual to view themselves as superior based on some sort of worldly element. It's worldly, isn't it? And when a person has nothing to be proud of, they resort to these symbols that are meaningless, absolutely meaningless. And so notice, subhanAllah, although things are changing here in America, nobody says, I'm from California and I'm from New York and I'm the fan of this team and you're the fan of that team. That makes us enemies. But in the Muslim world, it's all over the place. Soccer, ooh. And see what happens when soccer goes down in the Muslim world. It is war. What is that? That is worldliness, or a symptom of worldliness. It divides us. And the only reason we are in this mess that we see today is because we allowed these ideologies to take root in our hearts. And yes, it originates in the West. Nationalism is a Western construct. It is a Western construct that was imported to the Muslim world. But the fact of the matter is, had the Muslims not been ready to accept such worldliness, they would have never accepted it. Can you imagine if this came to the time of the Prophet ﷺ? The companions would have rejected it immediately, because that's what they were taught to do. And their goal was the afterlife. And what does being from a certain country mean? What does it mean when you stand in front of Allah? As though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask us, what country were you from? What color was your skin? All of these are silly things. But again, where is it rooted? What is it rooted in? It is rooted in worldliness. It divides us. And another way that worldliness weakens us is that it is the source of the diseases of our hearts. The spiritual diseases I'm talking about. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala says, أصل كل خطيئة حب الدنيا. أصل كل خطيئة حب الدنيا. Memorize this. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala says, the root of all evil, the root of all sin is love of this world. And think about it. Take one spiritual disease, envy. What is envy? Envy is looking at something another person has of this world that you want for yourself or you don't want them to have. That is what envy is. It's about worldliness. And so naturally a person who is so attached and strongly attached to this world, naturally they will have more envy in their heart. Because that's what they want. And that's what they are pursuing. And so all the division we see within family, that is the result of envy. All the problems that we see, that is the result of envy. People being torn apart, people being torn down by envious people. Know that the root of that is love of the world. And envy is simply a symptom of a greater problem. You could see how worldliness, it just rips the believer apart, dear brothers and sisters. But Ramadan is a month that is meant to loosen our grip, our love, our attachment over this world. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, O you who believe, fasting has been commanded. It has been ordained upon you. And this is very important to highlight. Because one of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting in our minds is that you have a higher authority. No, you don't have the freedom to do what you want. No, you don't live in a free time. Maybe politically, but in the greater realm of things, you're not free to do what you want. What you want has consequences. And so why do we fast? Just think about it. I love saying this and I always say it. There's nothing logical about abstaining from food and drink for such long periods of time. There's nothing logical about it. Why do you do it? Because you were commanded to do it. And so in your mind, you abstain from all of this for 30 days simply because and only because Allah told you. Because if your spouse were to ask you, hey, don't eat and drink all day until we have dinner together, wallah, you're not going to do it. Nobody would do it. We'd get our drink, we'll have our meal, and we'd say, yeah, we fasted. We would only do it for Allah because in our minds, Allah has the right to command us to do such a thing. And that is part of eroding our love of this world, to realize there is a higher power. So as we depart this blessed month of Ramadan, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribe or write for us many more Ramadan, Allahumma ameen. Remember, you are a servant of Allah, commanded by Allah, to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are in an agreement with Allah by merit of believing in La ilaha illallah. You have agreed to the covenant that you will submit to Allah. And if you do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you in this life and the afterlife. And you will realize that you will stand in front of Allah and be asked about what you're commanded for or to do. So leave this world a little less attached to this, leave Ramadan a little less attached to this world. That is the goal. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. It's a few days. Wallahi, from how fast Ramadan goes every single year, I stop counting. So it comes and goes, I stop counting. And it's meant intentionally to be أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. A few days. Why? So you take advantage of it. but also to be a model for something greater. And that is, as Ramadan is just a few days, your life is just a few days. As Ramadan comes and goes quickly, dear brothers and sisters, your life will come and go quickly. There was a point in time where you were not even a memory, a thought in the minds of your parents. When your mother was a young lady, when your father was a young man, they had no idea that they will have a child named whatever you are named. You weren't even a thought. But you came and here you are. And you will go and you will be buried. And you won't be remembered anymore, illa yasha Allah. Ramadan is exactly like that. To reflect the world. So when you leave Ramadan, as we depart Ramadan, reflect and think, what did I gain in this Ramadan? Did I really use it to the best of my ability? Was there more I could have done? Did I miss out? Did I deprive myself of tremendous reward that I could have easily acquired had I just sacrificed, not going to that family gathering or not staying longer to enjoy the sweets, and I went to Taraweeh instead? Or maybe I should have taken advantage of some extra money that I had I could have used as Sadaqah on the day of Laylatul Qadr. Perhaps I would get much reward to be proud of and joy for eternity. Reflect on this, not to put yourself down, dear brothers and sisters. Islam isn't interested in putting you down. Allah sent the Qur'an and sent the messenger and gave us the sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ to lift you up and to empower you and to strengthen you. So when we talk about this, it's to empower and to strengthen. Think about it. And then use that to reflect on your life. Because all you will take with you from this life is your deeds. And as one scholar says, every human being will face two calamities regarding their money. Impaired, it will happen. Two calamities in your money. Number one, all of it will be taken away from you. It will be taken away from you. And number two, the second calamity, you will be asked about every single dime. Is this world really worth it, dear brothers and sisters? It's not. It's not worth it. And so if you look at it from the perspective of the Aakhira, the afterlife, when you stand in front of Allah and you look at your deeds, when people will be saying, Ya waylata laytani lam attakhidh fulanan khalila, woe to me, I wish I wasn't friends with that person. And other people will be saying, فَمَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةً وَلَا كَبِيرَةً إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. Others will be saying, what is the deal with this book? There isn't a small thing or a big thing that has been left out. Reflect on this so that you work towards it. And reflect on this point. Remove that worldliness from your heart so that you could be a source of strength for the weak. Because as I repeat, wallahi, what put us in this mess, as the people of Salahuddin, the time of Salahuddin, and the mess that they were in, what got us there is love of this world. And Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, rahimahullah ta'ala, this great scholar, who lived during the time of Salahuddin, and it is said that he actually met Salahuddin and made dua for him. He has a book in which he advises his students, the people around him. And wallahi, you can take those words and speak it verbatim, word for word today, and you would think the person who wrote it is talking about our times today. Because the problems are always the same. The source of the problem is always the same. He said, we pursue this world, and all we care about is the material, and all we care about is the newest technologies, and all we care about is the fancy stuff. And that has weakened us. So depart this month of Ramadan, dear brothers and sisters, a little bit less attached to this world, not isolated from this world, but less attached to this world, to where your goal is the afterlife. Your primary concern is the afterlife, not this world. You work in this world, you do in this world, you organize this world, you build in this world because it's a command of Allah. But you do it with the intention that you want to take that with you to the afterlife, and so you convert it into good deeds. And I give you glad tidings if you take this advice. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Man kana hammuhu hamman wahida hammal akhirah." whoever's primary concern is one concern, and that is the concern of the afterlife. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kafahu Allahu humum ad-dunya. Allah will manage your world for you. He'll take care of your world because you're busy with something more important. And Allah will reward you by taking care of your affairs in this world. And not only that, He said this world will come to you whether it wants to or not. Allah will make the world come to you because the reward of somebody who submits to Allah, Allah causes the world, the creation, to submit to Him or her. And it gets better. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet says about Allah, that you will be praised by Allah. You will be praiseworthy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Dear brothers and sisters, the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam says, as-sadaqatu burhan. Charity is evidence. Evidence that you truly believe in Islam. That the person truly believes in the message, in the cause. They believe in it so much that they're willing to sacrifice their money, their hard-earned money, the time that they use to earn that money. They're willing to sacrifice it for the cause. That is a sign, that is evidence of sincerity, that is evidence of true belief. And we as Muslims, alhamdulillah, are doing a fantastic job. Always room for improvement. But I say over and over again, we are doing a fantastic job to plant the correct seeds for tomorrow. Among which is this institution here, which I've had the privilege for the past 5 years to be an instructor, serve as an instructor as. And I have taught year 5 students, those who graduated from the seminary. And I testify and I say, wallahi, the results of going through this institution and learning from this institution are very, very visible and clear. This institution truly graduates individuals who will serve the community tomorrow and serve them on the sunnah of Rasulullah with knowledge and to build the community. And so a pitch to the community here, support the seminary work here. You are supporting the students who will then go about giving da'wah, calling people to Islam, taking care of your children or your grandchildren. And by giving support, charity, or donations, contributions to this institution, you get the reward of all of that da'wah. And the fact of the matter is, this is the reality of our times. We need contributions from the community. Maybe later it'll be different. But today, you have a door of paradise wide open for you. And that is to contribute small amounts or large amounts on a consistent basis. $10 a month, $20 a month, $30 a month, $100 a month. Wallahi, we can all afford this. Even high schoolers who have a part-time job can afford contributing $10 a month. But it's meaningful. It is important. So give generously to one of the most important and blessed institutions, not just in SoCal, in America. Support it, and I say this as somebody who's an instructor here and somebody who's seen a little bit of the American Muslim scene. This is an institution to support. It is a star within the broader American Muslim community. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you all. May He make these last few days of Ramadan blessed nights. If Laylatul Qadr has not yet happened, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to make the most of that night. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our dua, especially our dua for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them a Eid gift like none other. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not let the month of Ramadan of the year 1445 conclude except that a major victory has come for the Muslim Ummah, especially our brothers and sisters in Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your wealth. May He bless this community and all Muslim communities. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala support you all as you support your communities. Allahumma aghfir lil-muslimin wal-muslimat wal-mu'minin wal-mu'minat al-ahya'i minhum wal-amwat innaka sami'un qareebun mujibu ad-da'awati ya rabbil alamin wa aqim as-salah.